Hi everyone, Chris here from IELTS Advantage, and in today's lesson what we're going to do is show you exactly how to develop your ideas, generate ideas, and to structure your Task 2 problem and solution lesson. Also, what we're going to do in this lesson is download your free PDF study guide. What we're going to try and do is to get you to interact with the lesson and do the things you're going to be doing so that you're actually maximizing your learning and really improving. So download your free PDF study guide. The lesson will not make sense without it. We're not asking for your email address or anything like that. All you have to do is just click the link either above or below the video and you'll be able to download it immediately and follow along with the lesson, and you'll be able to carry out the activities just like you would in a classroom-based lesson. And the aim of this lesson is to show you how to generate and develop ideas. Lots of students complain about this, that they don't know how to generate ideas. We're going to show you that it's not that complicated, and one of the main things that you need to do is develop your ideas. I'm going to show you how to do that, and then we'll also show you how to understand the structure of a problem and solution Task 2 essay. And overall, we're going to show you that it's not as complicated as you think. We're going to normalize all of these things, because when students talk about generating ideas and developing ideas and structure, they tend to overcomplicate everything, and it's way simpler than you think. So that's one of the sort of ancillary aims of the lesson. So what I want you to do first, so there's going to be 7 tasks for you to complete. What I want you to do is take 2 minutes and think of this. What are the main problems associated with using social media platforms? So take 2 minutes to think and write down at least one problem. So you can write it down on the worksheet, or you can type it out on the worksheet, or what you could do is type it out in the comments. It's really important that you don't just skip this and don't even think about it, because you're watching the video now. You've invested this time. Don't waste your time. So take 2 minutes and try and think of it. All right, and pause the video and come back when you have done that. Okay, so you should have paused the video, and let's look at some common ideas. So many people don't like to use social media because it is very addictive, and they do nothing but all day, every day, just look at Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all those things. And then related to that is you're wasting a lot of time. It's kind of, you're not doing anything really productive unless you're watching one of my lessons on social media. There's a lot of spam on social media, so you're not actually looking at things that are interesting to you. People are, spamming you all the time. There's a lot of scams on social media. In the IELTS industry, people trying to sell you certificates, or all those sorts of scammy things related to the IELTS industry. And political interference. You'll often get people trying to get you to vote a certain way or influence the way that you think politically. And there are a lot of fake accounts. There's a huge number, millions and millions of fake accounts on different social media platforms. So if you didn't think of one of these ideas, no problem. There are thousands of different ideas that you could use. What matters is it's relevant to the actual topic, and you could talk about it. You could explain it. You could use an example. And the main thing to remember is, in the context of IELTS, the examiners are not looking for fancy ideas or complex ideas or impressive ideas. They're just looking for ideas that are relevant to the question, that will help you actually answer the question. And you'll notice that these ideas are probably the most popular ideas. If you spoke to 100 people and asked them this question, these would normally be the most popular answers, the most obvious answers, the simplest answers, and those answers are the best because they're easy to think of and easy to develop in your essay. So Task 2, you should be continuing on with these tasks, all right? Make sure you're doing them. Click on the new story. So new story is Task 2 on the worksheet. So it's a PDF worksheet, so you can just click on that. It'll take you to a BBC article, and identify which of those problems, so which of these problems is the main focus of that article. So pause the video, click on that article, read the whole article. You don't have to read every single word, you can skim through it if you want, but try and identify the main topic, the main idea in that. So pause the video and have a look at that. And you should have done that by now. Don't cheat, pause the video, and you should have identified that the main problem is this one. So they're talking about fake accounts. So if you read it thoroughly enough, you would have identified that. So why am I getting you to read a newspaper article? Why am I getting you to do that? Just to waste your time? No, well, one of the main things that students ask me is, what if I get a question and I know nothing about that topic? But I always say to them, where do you think the writers of the exam get their ideas? They just go onto sites like the BBC News, look at technology news, education news, environment, health news. These are the most common topics when it comes to task 2, and they will look at those news articles and they'll develop questions out of those. So one of the best ways that you can guard against knowing nothing about the topic, as many students do, just go once a day to the BBC News, read one story from the technology section, one story from the education section, one story from the health section, one story from the environment section. Doesn't matter how many you do, as long as you're doing a little bit every day, and that's going to improve your idea generation, but also your idea development, your vocabulary, absolutely everything, your reading skills. So that's a really, really worthwhile thing to do. So task number 3, what I'd like you to do now is pause the video again, and you can take 1, 2, 5, 20 minutes, however long you want to do it. Probably doing it in 2 or 3 minutes is the best, because you can tend to overthink these ideas. One of the big problems that I see with students is whenever they're sitting down on test day is they will overthink everything and try and think of this amazing idea when there's no such thing as an amazing idea. Normally the first 1 or 2 or 3 ideas that pop into your head are the best ones. So think of a possible solution to the problem of fake accounts. So imagine you're Mark Zuckerberg, or you work at Facebook and you have all these fake accounts. How would you solve that problem? So just try and think of one problem, and try and think of a problem that you would be able to explain properly, and you maybe use an example to help you explain it. Imagine you're talking to a friend in a coffee shop and they ask you, oh, there's all these fake accounts, how would you solve this problem? What would you say? So pause the video and think of this and write it down on your worksheet, because the act of writing it down is going to help you remember all of this, and it's going to help you on test day. So pause the video, again, don't cheat, and let's have a look and think about this. So when I worked with some other students on this, these were the 4 ideas they came up with. One was require ID, so you have to enter your passport number or your driver's license or whatever, so that would guard against requiring ID. Artificial intelligence, so AI looks at all of the accounts and tries to figure out which ones are fake and which ones aren't, and just automatically blocks fake accounts. User reporting, so asking the different users to report fake accounts manually. And education, so Facebook educating people about the difference between a real account and a fake account, so people can ignore those fake accounts. So you might have had one of these ideas, it might be a different idea. What matters is think about if it is actually relevant to the question. If you were, imagine you're talking to a friend and you came up with this solution, what would your friend say? Would they say, what are you talking about? That makes no sense. Or would they say, yeah, that does make sense. Explain that to me. Okay, yeah, that makes total sense. That would be viable. So you're not trying to think of one ultimate magic solution. You're just trying to think of one viable option that would work and that you could explain. So let's move on to task 4. Imagine you have to tell a friend about this problem. Write a short paragraph telling what the problem is, why it's a problem, and an example to help them understand. So imagine you are sending an email to somebody and you're writing about this. State the problem, state why you think it's a problem, in other words, explain, and then use an example, doesn't have to be a very complicated example, to help them understand what you mean. So on your worksheet, just write one paragraph, doesn't have to be very long, it could be between 50 and 100 words. We're not writing an essay here. We're just using this to help us understand what to do. So again, take 5 or 10 minutes to do that. Don't take too long to do it. And then come back after you've paused the video and you have completed that. Make sure that you do this. Again, you're wasting your time if you don't do it. Okay? So you should have completed that by now. Task 5, do the same with a solution. So try and think of a solution that is relevant to the problem that you discussed. All right, so the problem that you've just explained, what would be a possible solution to that? What is the solution? How can it help? And an example to help them understand. Again, just take 5 or 10 minutes to write this on your worksheet. Or if you need more time, take more time. Take all the time you need if you need to do that. You need to start slowly if you're just beginning, or if you're a little bit more advanced, try and do it in 5 or 10 minutes. So pause the video again and do this. So why did I get you to do that? Well, I was getting you to do that by just simplifying the overall structure of what you're doing. The first task that I gave you, write the problem, it's basically going to be like a main body paragraph. MBP, main body paragraph 1, your solution, MBP, main body paragraph 2. So this is problem, and this is solution. All right, so this is the whole structure of a problem and solution essay. It's not the only structure. There's no one structure to answer any particular type of IELTS question. This is the one that I teach my students, and the one that has worked very, very effectively for my students. So what I'd like you to do is guess what these are. What would you do here? So there's 2 things you need to do in the introduction. 3 things you need to do, not 3 sentences, but 3 things you need to do in your main body paragraph. 3 things you need to do in this main body paragraph, and 2 things you need to do in your conclusion. On your worksheet, what I'd like you to do is take 5 minutes and just guess what these are. Don't go on and cheat and look on the internet and look on the website and try and find out what these are. Just try and think from what you have learned so far in this lesson, what would your structure look like? What would be the key elements in your essay? So again, pause the video, write this out on the worksheet, and take some time to think about this. And here are the answers. Don't cheat. So, in the introduction, paraphrase the question and then answer both questions. So, paraphrase the question, this is what's happening, this is the problem, and this is the solution. All right? You're not explaining anything here, you're not going into any detail, you're just stating this is what's happening, and this is the problem, and this is the solution. Main body paragraph 1, state what the problem is, explain why it is a problem, and then give an example. Not 3 sentences, but 3 elements to it. Main body paragraph 2, state the solution, explain how, and an example. Again, not 3 sentences, 3 elements. And a conclusion, summary of the problem, this is what the problem is, and a summary of the solution. Now, many of you right now are going, oh, but the question normally says problems and solutions. Why don't you put multiple problems and multiple solutions into one paragraph? You can do that if you want, but I don't recommend it. The reason why I don't recommend it is you have to fully develop your main ideas. This is going to be your main idea here. This is going to be your main idea here. You have to fully explain it and give an example. In order to be getting a 7 or above, you need to fully develop your main ideas. So you have a choice. If you want to put multiple problems and multiple solutions in one paragraph, you can either write an essay that's like 500 or 600 words long and develop your ideas fully. You'll never be able to do that. Or don't develop your ideas properly. You're going to get a low score. So you can debate all you want about whether to do this or whether not. This is what I use with my students. We have more success stories than any other course in the world. If we didn't know what we were doing, that wouldn't be the case. Also, I've spoken to multiple senior examiners about this, and one problem, one solution is totally fine. So this is the overall structure, and if you got a different structure, that's fine. But what I would recommend doing is decide which structure you want to use for these different types of questions, because when you're doing the test and when you're preparing, your writing is going to reflect your thinking. So if you're going into the test and you have 7 different structures in your head and you're not sure about any of them, you're very, very confused, your writing is going to be very confused. So pick someone you trust and follow that structure. It doesn't have to be mine. I don't care if you follow mine or you don't, but pick one structure that you're happy with and then use that on test day and use that when you're practicing. So you don't want to be using 7 different structures when you're practicing. Just use one and make it simple and make your preparation easy. So task 7, what I want you to do is take this structure, take everything that you've learned today. So how do you generate ideas? Think about how I've taught you that today. How do you develop main ideas? Think about how I've taught you how to do that today. How would you structure your whole essay? Think about the lessons that you've learned today on that. And then think about all of those lessons, think about what you've learned today, and do this question. Many social media accounts are fake. What problems does this cause? What solutions can you suggest? So do that, pause the video. If normally on test day you'll only spend 40 minutes, you can spend more than 40 minutes doing this because you're learning what to do. When you're learning how to do anything for the first time, it takes you a long time to do it, much longer than is normal. Think about driving a car or riding a bike or tying your shoelaces. When you're first learning it, it takes you a long time to do it. So don't try and do it as quickly as possible unless you're already, your test is like tomorrow and you're totally confident about what to do and you just want a little bit of extra practice. So pause the video again, do this, and then once you've done, don't cheat, take the time to do it. You don't have to do it today. You can come back and do it tomorrow when you have time. Here's a checklist of things to think about when you're looking at your own writing. Does it make sense? Well, this is really, really, really important. Many people write an essay and then don't even think about this, if it actually does make sense. Why do we write anything? We write something to clearly communicate with the person reading it. If you gave this to a stranger, would they understand it? Would they understand what the essay is about? Would they understand what your main problem is? Would they understand what your main solution is? How have you developed those? So did you follow the structure? Did you develop your answers well? Do your ideas make sense? And could you do the same for another question? So if another problem and solution question came up, would you be able to do the same thing on a different topic? So if you can answer those questions, then you have learned something and you've really helped yourself develop in this area. So if you have any questions about that or any follow-up questions, feel free to send me an email. I know in a classroom-based class, you would be able to say, teacher, I'm not sure about this, or teacher, I have a question about some other thing. Feel free to send me an email. Either myself or one of my team will get back to you. We answer every single email. Looking forward to your comments and hopefully you enjoyed that lesson. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.